Hey y'all, welcome to Criminally Creative, a channel about my various creative endeavors. Today is Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024, and this is episode 52. I'm Susan. You can find me on Ravelry as Legal Eagle and on Instagram as Criminally Creative Podcast. Today is not going to be a regular episode. This is going to be a WIP parade of all of my cross-stitch projects. It's only going to be cross-stitch today, no knitting at all. So, if you have watched my last episode, I told you I was going to record this last week. Obviously, that did not happen. I'm used to the week after Christmas, I always take off, and usually my husband has to go to work, so I usually get a couple of days at home by myself, and that was my plan. What I didn't account for is that he was allowed to work from home all of last week, so I did not have the days alone at home that I expected, because I really wanted to do this like out in the living room where I had a little bit more room to spread around. So then my plan was, well, I would do it New Year's Eve, because I knew that afternoon he was going out with a friend for a few hours, and I could do it, you know. The problem is if my husband's home, there's noise. And hopefully you don't hear it when I'm in here, but if our living area is very open, and right now he's up in the loft, he's working today. I can hear NPR or some radio going on. If he's not up there, he's in the living room watching TV, or he's down in the shop and he's running his machinery. So if he's home, there's noise. Anyway, I was going to do it New Year's Eve when I knew he was going to be gone for a few hours Sunday afternoon. And I woke up Sunday morning with a raging case of pink eye. I don't think I have had pink eye since I was like 8. So if you happen to notice the bags under my eyes or that my eyes are red, that's why. The worst of it, it doesn't look nearly as bad as it did. Fortunately, my lovely neighbor is a PA, and so she was able to call me in a prescription for some antibiotic eye drops on Sunday afternoon. So that, because not only did I have pink eye, I couldn't have viral pink eye. No, I had to have bacterial pink eye. So, I mean, my left eye when I woke up Sunday morning was almost completely swollen shut. So, anyway, long story short, that killed Sunday recording, because y'all didn't want to see that. And today is the first day that I feel like my eyes at least will not gross anybody out. I don't look my best, but I don't even wear makeup, so I don't really care. I just didn't want anybody to be bothered by the state of my eyes. So anyway, that's the reason for the delay. I'm going to try to get this recorded today. I have one more day off work tomorrow. I'm going to try to record my plans, my 2024 plans video tomorrow. If that doesn't happen, I will get that recorded this weekend, and that will be a little bit more of a regular episode. Well, today you're going to see everything I've done to this point. If I don't record tomorrow and record this weekend, I'll show you the couple things I've done this week, but then I'll show you a little bit of haul, and I'll talk about my 2024 plans. So anyway, I have a lot of projects to get through. I'm going to try to do this quickly. I'm going to try to do it all in one video, but depending on how long it ends up being when I get to the edit, if this ends somewhat abruptly with no see you later, there should be a notice at the end of the video, if that's the case, that there's a part 2, because I thought it got too long. So, also, in the interest of time, I'm not going to show you the bags that the projects are in, because I usually do that in regular videos. Even if I have a paper copy of the chart, like a picture of what the project will look like, I'm not going to show you the paper copies. I'm just going to be flashing up a picture of the final result as I talk, and also will be putting up a picture as I talk of what it looked like at the end of 2022. So it will not be what you saw the last time I showed it in 2023, but it will be what it looked like at the end of 2022 compared to what it looked like at the end of 2023. Anyway, so before I get to the projects, just wanted to give you a couple of stats because I think they're interesting. I started 2023 with 39 projects. In 2023, I started an additional 71 projects. I finished 22, and I UFO'd 3. So I ended 2023 with 85 projects. And of course, since yesterday was January 1st, I did a New Year, New Start, which I'll go ahead and show you. So I currently have 86 projects. So a lot of projects to get through. I'm going to do it quickly. As always, there's a link below to my Google spreadsheet that lists all my projects, and gives you designer, fabric count, if I, at least a note about whether or not I've made any changes to floss or something like that, size, that sort of stuff. So I will try to remember to say fabric count and some, you know, if there's any difference about floss as I go, but if I forget, you can find that information there. So I have my trusty Grinch water Stanley because Grinch is year round for me. If my face is still a little red, it's because I hauled all of Christmas out to the shed this afternoon. And even though it's like 40 degrees outside, hauling it to the shed is back uphill, although my husband was nice enough to come and pull the wagon for me. So all I had to do was load the wagon, unload the wagon, put it on the shed. Anyway, let's get on to the projects. I'm doing these in chronological order of start. So my oldest projects first, and then we will move up to the Startapalooza that was 2023. So first project up is Treasure Hunt Bookshelf. This is a Heaven and Earth charted pattern based on art by Amy Stewart. I started this approximately July 31st, 2026. I don't know the exact date because I wasn't recording back then, but it was around July 2026 during my brief resurgence of cross-stitch that petered out quickly. I'm doing this 1/1 on 25 count Lugana, and I'm going to try to hold this to the right side so the left side can go where it was at the beginning of the year. And that's where we are now. I did 1,059 stitches this year. I am currently at 3.3%. And I'm trying to do this without my readers because the ring light will not reflect. Next up is Kingdom of Books, which is I bought as a Russian kit. The designers make it with your own hands is the translation. I am doing this with all the kit, floss and fabric. I am doing the background. I know some people are not. So this is on 14 count white Aida. I started this approximately August 31st, 2016. You will see this a good bit in 2024 because this will be, I'm not going to get too far into plans, but this one's going to come out a lot in 2024. So, whoops, that's upside down. I did, let me get it all in there, 2,533 stitches on this in 2023, and I am at 16.5%. So that is the center of the pattern. I didn't say up front there will be zipping and unzipping of bags, because if I don't put stuff back in as I go, it will not stay there. Okay, so after 2016's little brief resurgence, I didn't cross-stitch again for a bit until late in 2020. And so next we have a couple projects remaining from 2020. First up is Winter Wonderland. This is a pattern by Dorothy Kanzi. I do this on the Silk app, which is an app by Historic Strickmeister. I never say that right, but again, link below. This is on a 36 count light mocha. I did 3,145 stitches in 2023, and I'm currently at 67.3%. So, I'm hoping that one will be a finish in 2024, but it's not a specific plan, so we'll see. The other 2020 WIP I have is another full coverage. This is a Cross Winter Lake. This is a kit from Gecko Rouge, based on artwork by Joe Grundy. Doing this on 25 count Easy Grid, 1/1. I started this, Winter Wonderland, I started November 2nd, 2020. I started this December 7th, 2020. And And I'm trying to see how get close. In 2023, I did 2,638 stitches, and I'm currently at 5.1%. Moving on to 2021. Next up is One Nation by Bygone Stitches. I started this January 22nd, 2021. This is a project that you will see a lot of in 2024, and this will be a finish by the end of 2024. I'm going to have to put, anyway, I'm not going to be able to get this all on the screen and where I was at the beginning of the year on one picture, but this is where I am now. And I'm doing this on 28 count. Picture this plus AL 2/2. I did 3,393 stitches in 2023. And I'm at approximately, my guess is about 45%. I don't have, this one I'm doing on Good Notes, so I don't have an exact count of stitches. Next up is Quarantine Cats, which is Heaven and Earth Designs, based on artwork by Bridget Ashwood. Doing this on 25 count Potato Lagana 1/1. I started this February 25th, 2021. This one is all wrinkled and crammed in here. This, I believe, is my biggest full coverage, my biggest stitch count project. And I did 3,000 stitches in 2023, and I'm at 3.1%. I considered restarting this and Treasure Hunt Bookshelf as minis this year, and finally decided that no, I would not be happy with the end result because of the loss of detail, and so that they're just long-term projects that may take 25 years to finish, but, you know, if I finish, I finish. Next up is The Tree of Magic by Barbara Anna. I started this on May 1st, 2021. This was a kit from Nitka Moscow, and I believe you can only still get it from them, but I don't know if you can get it currently because it is a Russian company. So I'm doing it on the 32 count kit. In 2023, I did 1,844 stitches on this. I do not know what percentage that is. There is at least one more tier below the one that I'm working on. I can't remember. You will have seen a picture of what the final project will look like. Sorry, fabric's getting caught in my zipper. Trying to go too fast. Next up is O Feathers by Rosewood Manor. I started this May 15th of 2021. I'm doing this on 36 count antique white with the sulky thread pack that this was designed in. I was just working on this one in December, so I've done 2,033 stitches. I'm currently at 52.5%. Or I've done 2,033 stitches in 2023. So if I forget to specify that, all the stitch counts I'm giving you are just what I've done this year, not the total stitch count. Next up is The Snow Queen by Mirabilia. I started this May 30th, 2021. I'm doing this on the called for 32 count Witchelt Twilight Blue. I hate Witchelt fabric. I will try to avoid it at all costs from this. This was the first time I'd ever used it. Got this as a kit. I did 2,177 stitches. And I do not know what percentage, because this is another one I'm doing in Good Notes where I don't have a stitch count. So that's part of her dress. I hope I'm not going too fast. I just really don't want this to be a 4-hour-long video. Next up is Christmas at Hawk Run Hollow. I started this June 10th of 2021. I'm doing it on 27 count Linda Even Weave 1/1 colorway Whisper. I did 4,388 stitches. I am only doing 9 blocks of this. There are 12 blocks, but I am only doing 9 of them, so I'm approximately a third done. I am leaving off the last row because the words of the song and most of the Christmas stuff finishes by block 9, and there's at least one of the blocks on the last row that is not my favorite, so I just decided I'm going to leave that row off. Next up is Halloween Quaker by Leela Studio. I started this on June 30th, 2021. And I am doing this on 40 count fiber on a whim heather. And I did 2,613 stitches. And I'm currently at 33.5%. Next up is Winter Cabin. This is a dimensions kit. I've got to find the actual fabric. I started this is my birthday start in 2021, October 6th, 2021. I'm doing this with the kit fabric, which is 16 count Aida. And this year I only did 514 stitches. I'm currently at 15.9%. The stitch count is counting 10 stitches 2 to 1, so I may have actually filled more squares than that, but there's a lot of 10th stitch in the background of that, so the way I count stitches, I do 2 10th stitches to count as 1 for my calculations. So sorry, this is a smaller bag, my zipper's catching. Next up is Moonlight Sampler. This is a pattern by the Blue Flower. I started this November 15th, 2021. I'm doing it on 40 count hand dye by Rolanda in Dove Gray. And I did 2,726 stitches this year. I am currently at 37.3% on that. That's one that seems to go pretty fast when I work on it, probably because I like it so much. And then my last one for 2021 is Winter Rose Manor from With Thy Needle and Thread, Brenda Gervais. I started this December 22nd, 2021. I am doing it on 36 count XU design in Milk Coffee colorway. 1/2. I did 2,480 stitches, and I'm currently at 15.5%. So that's 2021. I'm going to swap out and get the 2022 projects. All right, 2022. First up is Pandemic by Long Dog Samplers. Doing this, I started this was my New Year, New Start in 2022, so January 1st. Doing this on 40 count antique white with Silks for You floss. And I did 2,379 stitches. I'm currently at 13.1%. See if I can toss them further this time so I don't have to climb over them to get them put away. Next up is Sleepy Hollow by Glendon Place. Oops, then it's caught somewhere. I started this on January 8th, 2022. And I'm doing this on 28 count Picture This Plus Nocturne. I did 2,130 stitches. And I'm currently at 32.7%. Next up is Winter White Santa by Mirabilia. I am doing this on 32 count XG design Little Dove. I started this January 15th of 2022. This year I did 2,386 stitches. Sorry, my fabric's not folded quite right. And I do not have a percentage on where I am because I'm also doing this one in Good Notes. Next one is Cardinal Points. This is a designed by Long Dog Samplers. This was done in conjunction with Gentle Arts Threads. I'm doing this on 36 count white. I started this March 8th, 2022. Oops. Sorry, I got threads going everywhere. And I did 2,173 stitches. I'm currently at 10.3%. Next up is A Tisket, a Tasket by Rosewood Manor. I started this on May 1st, 2022. This was a stitch along with Pam from Stitching in the Land of Good Enough. She had divided it into 12 blocks and was going to finish it that year, in a year. I don't think she did, but I am way behind that. So, I'm doing this on a 36 count Be Stitch Me and Not Another Sampler. I did 1,774 stitches. I'm currently at 11.8%. There are tons of color changes in this. So that's why when I work on it, I thread a lot of needles and I use this little thing right there and label so that I can, because to avoid, you can't finish up a thread without doing lots counting and worrying that you're not right. So it's easier to thread a bunch of needles and do the 5 or 6 stitches of this and then 5 or 6 stitches of that. And I love it, but it's a lot of color changes and it's kind of slow going because of that. Next up is Let Love Rain by Teresa Kogut. I'm doing this on 40 count flax. I started it May 7th, 2022. This was in May for Mayhem. I don't do a bunch of starts, but I usually do one each weekend. So I think I said I'm doing this on 40 count flax. I did 2,217 stitches. I'm currently at 3.2%. This is a big one. I am making some modifications on the color a little bit, adding a little bit more blue. I think I'm doing the words in blue and they're called for in brown. Next up is Kringles by Little House Needleworks. I'm doing this on the called for 30 count Legacy Parisian Gray. I started this May 21st, 2022. And this year I did 2,379 stitches and I'm currently at 8.5%. Next up is Blue Ridge, which I bought from, this was charted by CrossStitch.com, based on artwork by Derek McCrae. I'm just doing this on 25 count Easy Grid. And this year I did 2,015 stitches. I'm currently at 8.5%. This is one of my smaller, this is full coverage, but it's a smaller. That is the entire width of the piece. Next up is Rejoice Evermore with the Needle and Thread, Brenda Gervais, on 40 count R&R Barb's Blend. I started this June 10th, 2022 at StitchCon and did a very small start. This year I did 1,959 stitches and I'm currently at 5.2%. If I'm giving you percentages, it mostly, for a few it means that they're in Pattern Keeper, but most of my patterns I do in Markup RXP. I have been successful in scanning almost all of my print patterns. The exception really is the Mirabilias, although the latest one I've started, I have gotten a scan that is working, although I'm having to do a workaround a bit. So anyway, next up is Lady Liberty by Twin Peak Primitives. I'm doing this on 36 count Mystic Pearl. I started this July 1st, 2022. I did 2,208 stitches, and I'm currently at 47.1%. Away We Ride by Blackbird. Doing this on 36 count Forbidden Fiber Co. in Dovetail. I am doing my own color conversion on this. I started this July 3rd, 2022. I am making this a little more gray, slate gray, blue than brown. And I did 2,410 stitches, or 19%, and I'm currently at 19%. Next up is one of the two projects that I had started at the beginning of the year that I did not touch at all this year. So this does not look any different than it did at the end of 2022. This is The Mandalorian by, oops. Needle minder is not holding my needle very well. I'm going to have to stick it in the fabric. The Forbidden Fiber Co. I'm doing on 36 count Forbidden Fiber Tumbleweed. There will not be a before picture because it looks exactly like it did at the end of 2022 because I did 0 stitches on it, but I'm currently at 4%. So that one is definitely going to get some love this year since I didn't touch it at all last year. Next up is Sir Thomas of Glendon Place. I started him July 17th, 2022. I'm doing it on a 32 count Smoky White. Zweigart. He got 2,101 stitches and is currently at 12.1%. He has lots of sparkly, although you probably can't. I don't know that you can see the sparkle, but he will have even more. I am doing on that one, it's charted in Sullivan, but they give a anchor and a DMC, and I'm actually doing the anchor conversion for that. That was during my brief stint where I thought anchor spools were the greatest. I don't hate them, but I've decided they take up too much space in a bag. So Sleepy Hollow is being done in anchor, which is what it's called for, but I have taken all those floss off the spools and put it on floss drops. The next time I touch Sir Thomas, I will do the same thing with that. So next up is Haunted Library, which was a stitch along in 2022. I started it July 22nd, 2022. It's designer's Lola Crow Designs, or Lola Crow. I can't remember. And I'm doing this on 40 count Fortnite I Try. I did 2,351 stitches. I'm currently at 38%. And my husband has finished work and gone downstairs, and I just heard his saw going. So I am hoping, he's right below me, I'm hoping you will not hear that or will not hear it too loudly. If you do, please let me know so I will know for future reference. It doesn't seem to be constant, but anyway, next up is Good Company by Plum Street Samplers. I started, this was my birthday start in 2022, October 6, 2022. I'm doing this on 36 count Vintage Country Mocha. And I have a thread still hanging off of this because I need to, this is one that, this will be probably, other than maybe a Mill Hill kit, probably my first finish of 2024. I did 1,175 stitches. because of where and when I was and how I decided to start this, I am actually doing this on a paper copy and highlighting, so I have no idea what percentage, but I don't have but so much left to do, so I don't know if it will. I'm hoping it will get finished in January. We'll see. Where am I? Next up is Autumn Cloche by Hello from Liz Matthews. I'm doing this on 40 Count Atomic Ranch Vapors. I started this November 9th, 2022. And I did 2,099 stitches. And I'm currently at 21.7%. I am making a slight modification. I'm doing the called for MPI, but the butterflies and stuff that in the picture look blue to me, the called for MPIs were very gray and almost a brownish gray, and I didn't like that, so I have converted those to 3 other MPIs that are more of a bluish gray. And then the last one for 2022 is the other project that did not get touched at all in 2023, so it does not look any different. This is Moons Out, Brooms Out by Autumn Lane Stitchery. I'm doing it on 36 count to dye 4 fabrics in Deja Blue. I started this December 1st, 2022, and it got 0 stitches this year. I'm currently at 4.1%. But this one is going to get some love, and it's going to get some love right here in the first part of the year, too, because it's some of my plans, which I'll talk about in the next one. So that's everything up to the start of 2023. Looks like I'm running right about 30 minutes, so we'll try to do this all in one video. I'm going to break and go get the first bin of 2023. These, of course, were all new starts, so you will not see a before picture. You will just see the picture of what the end result will look like. First up is Dragonfly Lace Mandala by Chatelaine. I'm doing this on 32 count Silver Moon. I believe that's right side up, and I did 537 stitches for 1.1%. My minimum required stitches on a new start, my personal minimum required is 500 stitches. So a lot of these will only have a little over 500 or thereabouts if they only got the start and did not get additional work in the year. Some of them got additional work during the year, but not all of them did. So that's what this year's for, right? Next up is September Sapphires. I started Dragonfly Lace Mandala was my new start, so that was January 1st, 2023. September Sapphires, I started on January 6th, 2023. The pattern is by Carolyn Manning. This is one of her shooting stars. I'm doing this on 32 count Blue Whisper. And I did 2,801 stitches. Currently at 7.8%, sorry. Next up is Haberdashery Shop. This is a smaller full coverage by Doreen Jones. I'm doing this on 20 count. Sorry, I can't read that number. 20 count Ada. This was a start last year at, I gotta figure out which one's the right one. There we go. Start last year at the Barefoot Needle Arts Retreat in February that I started on February 3rd, but then I got home and realized I had started at the top of the pattern but the bottom of the fabric, so I had to completely restart it on February 9th. Overall, I did over 3,000 stitches between the two, but on the one that is actually going forward, I've done 2,551 stitches, and I'm currently at 12.1%. There is, this is a full coverage, but there is some back stitching to this that I don't know, I'll wait till the end, but I will have more done before I start doing that. Next up is Autumn Seaside by Forbidden Fiber Co. I'm doing this on 40 count Forbidden Fiber in the Lullaby colorway. This was also a start at the Barefoot Needle Art Retreat last February. It's just, I started on February 4th, and I did 842 stitches. I started this one in the middle of the pattern. I tend to usually start in the top left corner, but sometimes, depending on the design, either because there's too much counting or because I want to start in a more interesting place, I may start in the middle. So next up is Dark Tower, which is another full coverage. This is by Lika Cross, L''Ka Cross, I think is Ukrainian or Russian. It's a full coverage. I'm doing it on 25 count, easy grid. I started this February 26, 2023, and I did 2,646 stitches, currently at 5.3%. Dark Tower, of course, is a reference to the Stephen King series. Sorry, I gotta flip a page here. Next up is Minnie, the Wool Shop by Heaven and Earth Designs, based on artwork by Lucy Pittaway. I had previously started the full-size version of this, but this is one that I did restart as the Minnie this year because I didn't feel like you lost a lot of quality, and I really would like to get this one done eventually. I did 1,024 stitches on this. I'm currently at 1.4%. I started this March 2nd. So one of my UFOs for 2023 was the full-size version of the Wool Shop. And it's interesting when you go from a full-size to a mini, the actual differences in colors. I mean, some of the colors were the same. Some of them were very similar, but they were different. So I had to, like, buy more floss and swap some stuff out. Next up is Mr. April. This is the monthly gnome series I was doing at the beginning of last year. I have not abandoned it, but I have decided, I was originally doing it for my office, and I've decided I started doing the monthly Quaker series for my office instead, and I will probably go back and finish this probably for one of my grandkids at some point, but I haven't finished. This is the one I was working on when I made that decision, and I haven't worked on it again since. So this is Mr. April. I started this April 7th, 2023. The pattern is by Charlie's Needle. This is on 16 count Atomic Ranch Freeze, and I did 1,168 stitches, which is 32.3%. They're relatively quick stitches, so I will go back and finish the series at some point, but I want to get the monthly Quaker series done first for my office. Next up is A Peacock, a Unicorn, a Badger by the Scarlet House. This is another full coverage. Doing this on 40 count Atomic Ranch in the Palomino colorway. I started this May 6th. Nope, sorry, wrong one. I started this, it's on 40 count Atomic Ranch in the Mellow Stone colorway, and I started this April 29th. I did 2,790 stitches, and I'm currently at 2.6%. I am stitching all of that green background. I did do it on a regular fabric because to me this is more, I'm going to do probably more of like a tapestry finish, and so some of my fabric may show around the edges the way I plan to finish it, or at least the way I have in my head. Next up is Every Opening Flower by With Thy Needle and Thread, Brenda Gervais. Started this May 6th. I am doing this on 36 count Atomic Ranch in the Palomino colorway. And this was just a start, so I only did 542 stitches. I think this was if I remember correctly, this was a market release this year, and it was just too good not to at least get started. Next up is Winter Quakers by Rosewood Manor. I am doing this with called for Valdani floss. on 28 count Picture This Plus Dwarf. I started this May 13th, 2023. And I did 1,095 stitches. I'm currently at about 5%. I need to make some project bags because I have several things still in Amazon bags. Next up is Fairy Wren Ventures. This is a Heaven and Earth design, but I am doing the no background version, so it's not technically full coverage. It's based on artwork by, Isabella Carolwiz. It's some kind of Polish or Russian name that I can't pronounce, sorry. I'm doing this on 40 count Fiber on a Whim in the Celestine colorway. I'm trying to find where my actual, this is a very large piece of fabric because it's a long design. So I'm trying to find where my actual stitches are here. There we go. I did 516 stitches. I started this on May 19th. And that's just the start of the first bird in the pattern. I'm currently at 2.4%. Sorry, I'm trying not to, like, these big pieces of fabric, I'm trying not to just ball them up and jam them in there, at least to kind of sort of fold them, but they're so big and they don't want to fit back in. Next up is And a Forest Grew by Rosewood Manor. I started this on June 10th on 40 count Color and Cotton Cottage Stone. And I did 562 stitches. This is one of those patterns you just kind of want to get started because all those little trees. I will be changing the quote in the big tree. But I don't know to what yet. So, next up is October Quilt by Paula Vaughn. This is from the Quilts for All Seasons book. The ultimate goal would be to do all of them and to turn it into a quilt. We'll see if that ever actually happens, but I figured I had to get one started if that was ever going to happen. This is on 32 count Antique White. I started this June 21st. And I have done 542 stitches, or approximately 2.9%. Started that in the middle because I have gone ahead and bought all the fabric for all 12, being optimistic, and cut all the pieces to the right size because I had calculated how to get them all out of, like, I don't know if it was 1 yard, 2 yard, whatever yardage I bought. So I went ahead and cut it so I would remember how I'd figured it out. Next is Love is Love by Jan Hicks. I started this on July 4th. Oops. Oh. I've got a couple of my monthly Quakers on the other half of this fabric. I'm like, why is that? I'm doing it on 40 count Barefoot Sandy Toes, and I did 1,065 stitches, currently at about 5%. Sorry, for a second I thought I was showing you the back. Basically what I did is I kind of went down and up and did a little bit of each color, so when I go back to it, I can pick whatever color I want to work on and work from there. So next is Christmas Mousse, which is a Panna kit. Doing this on the kit 16 count Ada. Started this July 25th, and I did 1,016 stitches, and I'm at 6.1%. Next up is Summer Quaker by Leela Studio. Started this August 1st as part of the Live in the Sunshine sale that Samantha, the Huga Stitcher, is doing. Doing this on 40 count Barefoot Fabric Sea Mist. And I have done 1,073 stitches for 3.8%. Next up is Night Walk Down by the Blue Flower. I started this August 11th, and I'm doing this on 40 count Fox and Rabbit oyster shell. And I did 553 stitches for 3.2%. I'm doing it in called for, but there's one called for in her that was a limited edition floss you can't get, and I've subbed for that. And also the burnt something. The floss that's supposed to be like the cat and stuff is got a lot of red in my version, so I'm substituting some of that too. But let's see. Next up is Minnie the 10th from Heaven and Earth Designs. Based on artwork by Mandy Manzano. I'm doing this on 25 count Easy Grid. I started this August 13th, 23, and I've done 2,098 stitches for 2.7%, and that is the full width of the piece. So this is a little bit smaller full coverage. That's the whole piece of the fabric. So next is Sugar Skull Cat by Stitchora. This was in the Just Cause Stitch Halloween edition this year. I started this August 14th. I'm doing this on a piece of 36 count Jody fabric, so it has no name. Ooh, I need to serge the edges on that. And I did 574 stitches for 6.6%. So I've got, that's the outline of the ear. Started in the middle and kind of worked up to the top left so that I could center it on the fabric. Next up is the Equality Sampler by Plum Street Samplers. I started this August 19th. And I'm doing this on 36 count Coloring Cotton in Cottage Stone. I did 958 stitches, 5.4%. Nancy the Disorderly Stitcher, I think, is the one that I finally succumbed to starting that one with. Next up is Scary Sampler by Heartstring Samplery. I started this September 1st. Doing it on 40 count Bestitch Me in the Mocha colorway. I started this one in the middle because I didn't really want to do nothing but border. So I started in the middle so I could kind of work my way out as I wanted to. So it's part of the house and part of the tree. I did 634 stitches, or 1.9%. That's a fun one with all the pop culture stuff in there. Next is Halloween at Hawker & Hollow. You know, at one point I had grand illusions that I was going to actually finish Christmas at Hawker & Hollow before I started another one, but that didn't last long. Well, it lasted a year or two, didn't it? I started this September 2nd, 2023. The pattern is by Carriage House Sampling. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where the stitching actually is because this is a giant piece of fabric. I'm doing this on 40 count Fiber on a Whim in the Heather colorway. And I am still working on the first block, but I've done 2,607 stitches. I'm at about 3.6%. Next up is the Schoolhouse Rock Stitch Along that Black Needle Society did this fall. I didn't really keep up with it, but I stitched on it regularly. Oh, there's magnets in there. Sorry. And then I just, you know, once the last one came out and I was way behind, it kind of abandoned. But I'll get it done because I want to do Bill. Started this September 3rd. This is I think I said Black Needle Society. Whoops. I think I just sent a needle flying. Okay, and this is 36 count Be Stitch Me Ocean Blue. And I did 4,745 stitches, or 29.1%. Next up is Happy Campers by the Blue Flower. I started this September 4th. On 40 count Be Stitch Me. It's an even weave. It doesn't have a name. I think I got it at a Friday night fight night. Where is the stitching? Ah, there it goes. And I did 537 stitches, or 2.7%. Okay, next page. This is October's Party, which I started September 23rd. It's by Little House Needleworks. It's still in a Q-snap because I only did, oh, I didn't write it down because I thought I was going to get back to it. I've only done like 403 stitches, and like I said, 500 is my minimum for a start. When I started making my list, I thought, oh, I'll knock that 100 out before I do the WIP Parade, but obviously I didn't. So this one, it didn't get the full 500, but this is where I am. I'm doing it on 40 count Atomic Ranch in the Blue Ridge colorway. I am changing the color of the words. I can't remember what I changed it to. Maybe Week Style Works Chesapeake, something like that, because the pattern is charted in brown for the words, like a brown, and I wanted the more of a, it's more of a like tealy color, which suits the fabric better, I think. Next is Halloween Sampler by Teresa Kogut. I started this October 1st, doing this on 40 count fiber on a whim cypress. So I'm going a little bit different on the fabric here. I'm hoping it'll work out. I'm also using the Vicki Clayton silks on this. And I did 549 stitches. You'll start to see September and October is where I really just started going whole hog on starting everything. In part because it's also the point at which I started to think, oh, I really need to, in 2024, start to curb my starting. And in my brain, that means, okay, I got to start everything before 2024 starts, and I start restricting myself. But anyway, next up is Sleeping Princess by Mirabilia. Oh, no, sorry, Nightingale by Mirabilia. This was my birthday start for this year, and for some reason I have 2 needles in this fabric. Not sure why. Just put this one over here just so that I can see it. And I have no idea which way is up on this. I think this is right. Like I said, this is Nightingale by Mirabilia. I'm doing this on 32 count Under the Sea fabric in Sea Witch. This was my birthday start this year at the Queen City Stitch Retreat, which was where Nora Corbett was the guest artist. I think that's right side up. Maybe it's this way. Might be that way. I did 547 stitches on this at the retreat and haven't messed with it since then. And then the next start was also at that same retreat. This is Sleeping Princess by Mirabilia. I started this October 7th, and I'm doing this on 28 count Grace Notes fabric in the Barbie colorway. I know that one's right side up. And I did 651 stitches on that one. I don't have percentages on the Mirabelle, on these Mirabelles, because I'm doing them in good notes, or I can at least zoom in and mark stuff off. And I need to swap out another bin. Okay, next up was a start at the Stitch New England retreat on October 13th, Jack's Bash by Plum Street Samplers. It's on 36 count R&R AB Siderian, and I did exactly 500 stitches, which is 2.4%. And my second start at that same retreat, crap, something stuck in my zipper. Is The Old Graveyard by Thistles. Started this on October 14th. On 36 count, Bestitch Me Gray Magic. And I did 689 stitches, which is 9%. And then on October 27th, I started Winter Kitty, which is another full coverage by Artisy. I bought it on Artisy. Not a huge one. 25 count Lugana. And I did 601 stitches, which is 1.7%. That's not quite the full width of it. I was going to try to do it all the way across the top, but the way I had it in my Q-staff, I couldn't quite get there, so. Next up is Double Dutch Sampler by Sampler Cove Designs. This is an older pattern. I don't know if you can get it individually. I have it from the Gift of Stitching, all the digital back issues. It's on 36 count antique white. I started this October 28th, and I did 515 stitches. I am doing this in the called for Gloriana silks. Next up is Midnight Watch by Blackbird Designs. I started this November 2nd on 32 count Atomic Ranch Pampas Reed. I am not going to be doing the alphabet at the bottom. I'm going to chop that off and bring the bottom border up. I will be doing just a year of my initials. I did 556 stitches on that, which is about 5% of what I plan to do. Next up is Spooktacular Party by Counting Puddles. Started this November 3rd. I'm doing it on 32 count Fox and Rabbit in the Black Swan colorway. Started this one in the middle. I'm doing 500. I did 549 stitches, or 3.9%. It's I think the middle pumpkin face. Next up is Let Freedom Ring by Leela Studio. Started this November 9th. On 40 count, Picture This plus vellum. Sorry, I couldn't read. And I started this one in the middle. Yeah, that's the top. I had to sew some extra fabric on because my margins on this are kind of tight, so... started this one in the middle, and I have done 502 stitches, which is 1.4%. I decided I did not want to leave that giant building to halfway through before I got to it, so I decided to start in the middle, and because my margins are a little tight, I did not want to miscalculate, so I can tell my eyes are getting... I'm sorry about the red around my eyes. Next up is Clouds Over Virlanda. I think is how you say that, by Ink Circles. I started this November 16th on 40 count Atomic Ranch in the embellished colorway. I am doing this with the called for Belle Soie silks, except for what they had as black. I'm doing in a kind of dark plum, and I did 497 stitches, or 1.6%. Next up is Coming to America with Thy Needle and Thread. This was a special kit, I think, back at the anniversary of the Mayflower, 200th anniversary, or not 250th anniversary. Anyway, it's readily available now. I'm doing it on 40 count Vintage Country Mocha. I started this November 17th, and I did 718 stitches, 2.3%. That is the entire width of the piece, so it's a long, narrow piece. And the kind of subtitle of this pattern is The Women of the Mayflower. So it lists all the women that were on the Mayflower. Next up is 272 Words by Primrose Needleworks. I started this on November 19th, which was the 250th anniversary of the Gettysburg Address, which is basically what this is. Doing this on 40 count Grace Notes Molly, and I did 522 stitches, which is 2.1%. I know that Vicky Stitching Button, this is the one she has divided up into 12 to finish this year, but she's also a little further, I think a little bit further along than I was to start, but I considered that, but I decided I needed to do one that was older. Next up is Native American Hummingbird Maiden by Joan Elliott. That is the current name of the pattern. It was printed in one of her books that's an older book where it was named Indian Maiden or Indian Hummingbird Maiden, but it's now currently called Native American Hummingbird Maiden. I started this on December 1st on 28 count Atomic Ranch Vanilla Cream, and I did 503 stitches, 1.7%. If you watch the episode where I talked about starting this, I started this twice because I cut my fabric wrong the first time and realized as I got halfway across that it was not wide enough. I had transposed a number in my head. Okay, let's see. We're getting there. Next up is Santa's Moonlit Ride by Counting Puddles. I started this December 4th, doing it on 32 count Atomic Ranch Crocus, which is actually a purple. Pattern is designed on a navy, but I think the purple's going to work. Looks very night sky to me. And I did 453 stitches. This is one that I didn't quite get to 500 the night I started it, and I just didn't go back to it, so. Next up is the current monthly Quaker I'm working on, which is July Quaker. I wanted to get this finished in December, but it just did not happen. And I got stuff stuck in the back here. Sorry. Stuff stuck to my magnets. So this is where I currently am. This is these patterns are From the Heart by From the Heart Needle Art by Wendy. I'm doing this one on 40 count Color and Cotton Over the Moon. You can see part of I think it's June over there. I started this December 6th, 2023. And I did not write down my stitch count where I currently am. I think I'm at like 2,000 stitches or something like that. 1,000 and something. Again, when I was making my list, I thought I was going to work on this one again some more before I actually did the video. So, but obviously that did not happen. Next up is Woodland Santas by Prairie Schooler. I started this December 7th, doing it on 32 count platinum. I am going to do all 4 of them and hopefully do them in kind of a window frame thing. I saw a model at Keepsakes when I was at StitchCon in 2022, and that's where I fell in love with the patterns. So I did 500 stitches of this, which is 2.5% of completing all 4 of them. I consider that one WIP, even though there's 4 patterns, because I'm planning to do all 4 of them. Next up is, you know what, I didn't get, did I skip over that? I'll have to go back to it. I don't think I accidentally skipped over it, but I'll find it. Next up is Santa Portraits, which I started on December 10th. They're designed by Carol Eamers. These are also something that, I didn't write it down, I don't think I have it, that I have on digital back issues from a magazine that's no longer printed. It's not The Gift of Stitching, it's something cross stitch, I can't remember. And there are 4 of them. Mama Loves You GB did all 4 of them, and that's where I kind of saw them and thought, oh, wait a minute, I have those back issues. So anyway, I've started one of them, and I'm doing this on 32 count flax. I've done 523 stitches, which is 2.7% of completing all 4 of them. I'm going to do all 4 of those as well, and probably do a similar, like, window pane type finish or something. I don't know if it'll be an actual window pane, but something where all 4 of them are shown together. Before I forget, I don't know if I've skipped over it or didn't write down. I am including this in my list just because this is a needlepoint project, which is by Nancy's Needles, and I started it, I think, in like June or July. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, Celebrate America Barn Quilt by Nancy's Needles. I started it June 30th. It's on 18 count mono fabric and sandstone, and I do consider this a WIP, even though it's needlepoint. So just wanted to show that. I've done those top 2 outlines of borders. And I don't know if I have taken a picture of that, so I will show the actual pattern for that one. So really all I've done is 2 of these. Sorry, my brain just said to me, hey, you didn't show that, and you started that well before the time period you're in. Next up is Santa Stops Here, which I started on December 15th. It's by With Thy Needle and Thread, Brenda Gervais. I'm doing this on 36 count Be Stitch Me in the Hot Cocoa colorway. And I did 514 stitches. Last page. Next is Autumn is as Joyful by Leela Studio. This is her kind of autumn Quaker that just came out. I started this December, I can't read my handwriting without my glasses sometimes, December 20th. I do plan to change the quote to Autumn shows us how beautiful it is to let things go, I think is what I'm planning on doing. I'm doing this on 40 count Be Stitch Me Lunar, and I've done 512 stitches, which is 1.9%. Next up is Winter Comes by Heartstring Samplery. I started this on December 21st. I figured a pattern named Winter Comes was appropriate for the winter solstice. I'm doing this on 36 count Lakeside Vintage Wood Smoke. I bought this as a kit through the Homespun Needle Arts, I think, Needlework Facebook group. I don't know if the pattern's available yet, but it probably will be. I got it last year, so if it's not available yet, it probably will be available at some point soon. I did 560 stitches on this, which is 4.1%. I am doing the larger version, which includes the words, and I went ahead and started in the middle so I could work up or down as I wanted to. Next up is Winter's Peace Sampler by Artful Offerings, which I started December 22nd. Sorry, I'm trying not to lose things out of my bag. I'm doing this on 40 count Seraphim fabrics in Winter White. And I did 506 stitches. Just 4.2%. So just started that banner up top and a little bit of the tree so I can work my way down to the houses and not get bored with the banner. Next up is Winter Moon by Plum Street Samplers. This is available currently only in kit only from Country Sampler, but it's exclusive to them, but you can order it. And I'm doing it on 40 count Fox and Rabbit Saltbush, which is the kit fabric. I started this December 26th. This is kind of my Christmas start, but we were traveling Christmas and with the grandkids, and I wasn't going to try to stitch. So, and I did 511 stitches, just 2.9%. Next up is Kringle's Tree Farm by Luminous Fiber Arts. I started this December 27th. On 32 count Atomic Ranch Lugana in the Storm colorway. This is one of the projects I had. Pam was having a Black Friday sale where if you kitted up a whole project, you got a discount. And I sent her a list of like 7 or 8 patterns that I would like to have and told her to pick 2 and kit them up, and this is one of the ones she did kitted up for me. I have done 518 stitches, which is 8%. And I'm realizing more and more how much I really like stitching on Lugana. Golly, I'm sorry my eyes are so red. I don't know why they're getting redder. Next up is Cardinal Tree, which is just a little Mill Hill kit. I'll put a picture in. I gotta find the actual stitching here. It's just on the perforated paper of the kit. And I started this December 28th, and 206 stitches, which is 11.4% is what I've done. I plan to do more Mill Hill kits in the new year, and when I get the plans. When I do the plan video, I'll talk a little bit more about that. Next up is one I finally caved into and bought, and of course started it the day I got it, is Frederick the Literate, which is a Dimensions kit. I've always liked it, and I, for some reason, just have never bought it. And so I'm doing it on the 14 count Kit Ada, Black Ada. I started this December 29th. Started in the middle, and I've done 540 stitches, which is 2.3%. As my friend Michelle said when I told her I was coming to order it, cats and books, that's right up my alley. Okay. Next up, almost there, I started on December 30th. I started North Pole by Kathy Barrick. I am doing this on 40 count Bestitch Me in Sugar Cream Pie. I am doing it with the called for MPI silks. And I guess Pam from Stitching and Landed Good Enough showed hers, and I just really like the silks. I did 519 stitches, which is 4.6%. And my last start of 2023, not the last project I'm going to show you, but the last start of 2023 was Bluebirds of Happiness by JBW Designs. I started this on December 31st, New Year's Eve, on 36 count Atomic Ranch Pampas Reed. This is the other project that Pam chose to kit up for me. And despite my self-imposed rule of 500 stitches, this was the day that my eyes were the worst. So I only did 245 stitches, which is 5.4%. So just got that little bit in for a New Year's Eve start. And since it is January 2nd and later than I planned, you get to go ahead and see my new starts that I started yesterday, which is Lady of the Flag by Mirabilia. This was a unicorn of mine. If you've watched my previous episodes, you know I was able to win an auction to get it in January. Not January, in October. I am doing this on the 30 count Primitive Hair Constitution fabric. And I've just started, for placement purposes, started the flag up there, which will hopefully have her head centered kind of between the end of the word article and one. And hopefully fit completely on. When my measurements based on the calculations are that the bottom is going to be very, very close to the bottom of the printed part of the Constitution, but we'll see. I did 521 stitches yesterday. I did succeed in getting this pattern into markup, but because those Mirabilia patterns are so big, the way I had to scan it, I have not yet gone through and tried to crop out the parts that I've repeated in various pages in order to get all of it scanned in. So I don't have an accurate stitch count, and therefore I don't have an accurate percentage of what that is. But it's probably, 1% at most. Anyway, so that is all current now, 86 of my WIPs. Just because I got curious, I do kind of keep track of the size of my WIPs for some of the challenges I do. So I'm now going to kind of going forward track like the number of each size. And I always say I'm always drawn to big projects. And that is borne out by the numbers because I have 1 mini, which would be the cardinal tree, 3 that would qualify as smalls, 13 mediums, 45 larges, and now 24 BAPs, or big-ass projects. So obviously, 75% of my projects are large or BAPs, which means they take longer to finish. So I need to work, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to stitch on things just for the sake of stitching on them if I don't want to stitch on them, but I need to focus on getting a little bit more balance in there so that I can actually finish some things and not just keep adding projects or not be able to start things because I can't finish anything. Anyway, so that is my WIP Parade. If you hung out this long, hopefully I'm thinking that's probably going to be pushing an hour and a half, 2 hours. I talked really fast. I'm sorry if it was too fast. If it was too fast, tell me politely. I will slow down next time and make it longer, but I really didn't want to subject y'all to an extremely long video or having to do it in 2, particularly because I didn't do it when I wanted to. Anyway, again, I apologize for the eyes. Hopefully that hadn't bothered you too much. Hopefully I've just had stuff in front of my face and you haven't really noticed it. So I hope y'all are having a good New Year so far. Hopefully I will get my plans video recorded, if not tomorrow, this weekend, and that will be up in the next week as well. And we'll go forward, and I hope everybody's having a happy 2024 so far, and we'll see you later. Bye, y'all.